half an hour, hopefully, I hope the focus will be on these great seven ladies with one gentleman here. The plan is this. I don't want to talk a lot, but I want the audience to engage with this panel. For the first time, all together, we have some interesting names, so please, I hope you will help me in making it interactive. I'd like to welcome Heineken Lanka Managing Director Mount Meiji Boom to join us. MasterCard Sri Lanka Director Mahesh Amarasuriya. Sambat Bank Senior Deputy General Manager, International Banking, Sashi Kandambi Jasim. Minpay co-founder and Chief Operating Officer, Urmila Chandrasekram. Sisterhood Initiative founder, Nabila Iqbal. And our young actor tonight, Dinara Punchiheva. As well as our keynote speaker, Dr. Natalia. From the panel, I want quick answers or short answers because we have a long night. So what I'm going to do is, in this session, we'll try and discover all these talented ladies, leaders in their own right. So I expect some brief answers so that we can have more questions from the audience. Is the audience ready for some questions? Sure. We have some roaming mic, so please make use of that. So, Maud, can you tell me something? I know you're a very dynamic lady for the last 2 years here. What is the single character that helped you both in life and career in terms of overcoming the challenges?
Hello, everyone. Yes, you can hear me. The single character trait. For me, I have to quickly get back on equity versus equality. We are not all equal, but we want to have the same opportunities. And that means that because we are all different, people need different types of support. And to keep a very long story short, what helped me is to ask what I needed to get that same opportunity as all the men I saw being general managers. I said, hey, I want that too. So raise your hand and then say, what type of support do I need to get there? So it requires courage. So I encourage all women to raise your hand, because the men had an easy walk to the top. It is now our turn, but ask for it. Be courageous.
Excellent. I think we have a lot of women leaders who have really risen to the top. I'm on to Sashi, actually. Sashi, just a bit of an idea about, from your, as a career banker, what can banking sector do to empower women when it comes to innovation, technology, and financial inclusion?
Nista, I would think what women needs is financial independence. That is what I think is required. And we banks have come out with a lot of innovative products and services that support the needs of the women of all walks of life. Whether it's a career women, now career women inside this room, I would say that their priority is time. The time is of essence. And even I, being a banker, I do my banking when I go home or rather in the night. So if I ask any one of you whether you have actually visited a brick and mortar bank during last 6 months, you would say no. So that's the innovation that the banks have provided so that you can do whatever your banking on your palm top. Having said that, yeah. Not only that, when you come to the grassroots level, today the biggest question is the underbanked women. We have done a lot of programs to make sure that our products reaches them so that they have access to financing. One good example is in Sri Lanka, if I may say quickly, a lot of female go abroad to do blue-collar jobs to give a better life for their children and the families. But what happens is they try to send money en bloc through informal channels, but their purpose is not achieved because it's been mostly misused. Now today, most banks are represented even at the employment agencies and in the authorities where we deliberately push them to open accounts and we handhold them and tell them how to use their accounts so that they can manage their finances from abroad and their funds, hard-earned money, is used for the purposes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I'll move on to, since we're talking about financial inclusion and technology, Mahesha, can you sort of share some examples how MasterCard has empowered this particular, address this challenge, and how we all empowered women via digital payment solutions?
Firstly, I would just mention that what all of you probably see in terms of MasterCard is mainly the debit credit cards that are out there, even displayed here previously as well. But MasterCard, being a technology company, is providing solutions for a lot of other areas such as transaction processing, cyber and intelligence, then solutioning, and even so therefore, in terms of like solutions that you mentioned as payment solutions, MasterCard really believes that providing digital payment solutions along with digital literacy will support women to become independent, to women to become empowered by giving them that opportunity where women become, women are able to make decisions better, more informed decisions, thereby gain a bargaining power at a personal level or at a professional level. So if I take one example there, the MasterCard payment solution, that means MasterCard payment gateway solution, provided through almost all the financial institutions, fintech companies, give the women an opportunity to reach out to a global marketplace. So that means by being able to accept payments online, a woman can provide services, provide goods to anywhere in the world and be able to be financially independent. So there is even Simplify Commerce, which is really targeted towards entrepreneurs and MSMEs, where we are really encouraging new businesses to come up. And I would just add one other thing. MasterCard has taken one step before that to encourage young girls to inspire them to take up STEM skills, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics skill through a program called Girls for Tech. So Girls for Tech is developed by MasterCard, encouraging young girls to follow this program, which is covering encryption, algorithm, fraud detection, etc., and been successful across the world, having reached over 3 million girls between the ages of 8 and 15 in 50 different countries in 20 different languages. So this is something that really helps to take away some of the bias, take away some of the stereotyping that is there in terms of some of the tech-related jobs. So these are two examples that I would like to share on behalf of Master.
Okay, thank you very much. We spoke about technology because we are having one more panelist on the technology. Urmila, quickly as to what needs to be done to encourage more women to take on to entrepreneurship, and especially the tech startups, because you are one of the co-founders of MintPay. So I just want to know, how can we have more people like you?
So for tech startups, so it begins with like a woman, like a girl or a woman in the tech industry, right? So speaking from my experience, for the longest time until I actually entered engineering, like I was not aware, or probably because my parents brought me up in such way that that tech is not for girls. Like, I don't know, that's kind of like the mentality that's popular mentality here, right? But like I grew up where like my parents were like, okay, whatever the field of engineering, you do it. If you want to do medicine, whatever it is, you do it, right? So the first time I encountered something like that was like a random person at a restaurant said, oh, a girl doing electrical engineering, like why engineering? Why can't you do like medicine, something like that? So that mindset, I think that is quite common, which is like scaring a lot of girls, like right after school or even when you're choosing your subjects for A levels, right? So at that point itself, potentially someone who could, enter in the tech field, they're already like, because of this stigma around it, like they believe that a woman can't do it, it stops there, right? And then entrepreneurship is also that, there's a lot of risks involved. It may work, it may not work. You got to make a lot of sacrifices. So like it's also the society kind of creates that fear that, oh no, don't do this, what happens if you fail, kind of thing, right? But like in entrepreneurship, like you fail, it's not a failure, you just learn something. So it's a learning, and you got to celebrate that if you fail, and if you succeed, you got to celebrate that as well. So that kind of awareness needs to be created, and also fail stories, like you need to share, like celebrate it, right? That would encourage more.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I hope the audience is preparing their own questions. Help to make my job easy. Move on to Dinara. How can art, cinema, and theater can be used for women empowerment?
Well, I think art and cinema, it's a great tool to send a message across to a large audience. And when I think of art, it could be a 1-minute video on YouTube. It could be a 2-hour movie on screen in the cinema. And I think now more and more people are always on their phones. And if done correctly, I think art and cinema can make a great impact in women empowerment. Um, for example, there's this producer called Kiran Kerr. I don't know if anyone knows. She made a bunch of short films based on gender equality. And one of them was a sister and a brother get 2 glasses of milk from their mom. And the brother's glass is full, but the sister's glass is half. And immediately, this is a 10-second short film, by the way. And then the brother fills the sister's glass, and they both have equal milk. And this was just very, very short, but very impactful. So I think as an artist, I feel art and cinema is very strong and powerful, and I don't think a lot of people realize, but I think every single company here today uses art to send their message across, whether it's social media, whether it's Facebook or whatever. It is very, very important. So I think it's a very great tool, and we need to appreciate it more.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Our final panelist is Nabila, who is, of course, doing a different activity. Given your work, Nabila, tell us, I don't want to make it very disturbing, but what are the key findings about women or issues facing women as part of your work?
So to start off, I'm not exactly in the corporate sector. I do a very completely different line of work. I work with young Muslim women, mostly in peace building and human rights related work. So let me root the question into where our country has been in the past few years with the effects of the pandemic, with the economic crisis right now, with the identities that we carry as women being either minority or whether not fitting into the binary, like a lot of people mentioned earlier. When you look at that, when you look at the cultures that govern us, the laws that govern us, and the lack of strict laws to provide protection to us. Looking at all of those backgrounds, what I've noticed is speaking to young people, first, the amount of decisions that we can make as young women over our bodies, over our lives, our careers, even something as simple as a partner, these are very limited. And that's number one when it comes to issues. And second is you can notice a huge failure in the state as well in the lack of protection that it provides, whether it's something as severe as domestic violence or even an ex-partner sharing your nudes after your relationship has ended. So those two issues I notice really strongly, and we can discuss that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I think key insights from all our panelists. Excellent. I'd like to open it to the audience. There are some statements like, have you ever gone to a bank in the last 6 months? I'm sure somebody will challenge it. There were issues about empowerment, inclusion, also about courage. Anyone has a question, follow-up question, or even a statement to clarify or even challenge some of the key takes coming from the panel? We have some roving mics. Please raise your hand. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. Can you have a mic here, please? You can, yeah, okay.
Hi, this question is to Urmila. What's your advice for women entrepreneurs, maybe at an early stage or maybe a little bit of traction? How can they think big and go global and achieve their fullest potential? What's your advice? What should they do? What kind of ecosystem support do you think they should go for? What's your advice?
Okay, so for MinPay, like we were a bootstrap startup and I was working full time while funding the startup, right? So if anyone is, people think that you have to quit your like 9-to-5 job and jump into the entrepreneurship, but I guess like if you're really afraid, like you can still try both, but it's double the work. And the other thing that really helped me was there were a lot of like there programs like She Loves Tech and Lankan Angel Network also. There was a lot of programs that I enrolled to where like, you know, we won it and there were like credits or like, you know, equity free funding that we received that really boosted. But the thing is like, I know like after the program that we enrolled to, like getting more women enrolled to that program, that itself was a, you know, challenging task for these organizers, right? Getting more, you know, quality, you know, applicants, right? So I guess like we are also like women are also a little bit, you know, afraid to apply for it because they don't know like, okay, what if we get rejected? So I guess that kind of like a comfortable environment is something that needs to be created, and also like women-led like fundings for women-specific startups. That also encourages more women, right? So I guess those are the ways that we can go about it.
Thank you for that question. So we've got to start from this side. How about this side? I mean, who is there to take on the challenge? I see in the audience a lot of empowered women. We are trying to see what can be done more to have people, more people like you all. Any questions?
Nista, I have a question over here in this corner.
All right.
I'd like to ask the question from actually anyone on the panel who'd like to answer, preferably more than one person. As representatives of large organizations, as well as actually women who've done a lot in terms of empowerment, looking at the topic of digital, Are any of you able to share thoughts in relation to how we work on this at a more grassroots level, in the sense the younger generation going into schools, going and approaching youth and teaching them at a younger age and a younger stage how to embrace equity, but also in the context of digital? Thank you.
Any takers? I think Mahesha did refer to the MasterCard program one. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just take a bit of it. So I think it is really to do with reaching at the grassroots level. I think reaching to schools, and very importantly, reaching to parents. It is to do to great extent on the mindset, how we understand that men and women, girls and boys can take on any of the jobs, can take on any of the qualifications that take away whatever the stereotyping and bias that is there related to certain types of jobs. So as I mentioned before, it is one of the things that MasterCard is doing on Girls for Tech, supporting and inspiring young girls to develop aspirations towards STEM skills. So likewise, at a grassroots level again, I think it's important to reach to teachers, to parents, because they are the influential group for a young person, a young student, look up to their parents, look up to their teachers. So they need to bring that mindset that you can be whatever you want to be, and there is no gender bias. And I think it applies both ways, because it's also to do with men. I mean, men could take on dancing or modeling or whatever it is as much as women could take on tech jobs. So both ways, this gender bias needs to be taken away at a very young age.
Thank you. Anyone wants to respond? Is it please raise? Okay.
I have a question. Sorry, from this side. Is that okay?
All right. Okay. Sorry.
Sorry. I think piggybacking on the last question, sometimes it takes a village, right? Women need to support women, and right now, even today, there are still only a few of us in leadership positions. So I just want to know how all of you on the panel and all of us here, if you have any meaningful ways that we can collaborate and set goals to increase the number of women in leadership positions.
Excellent question. Well done. How maybe you can sort of...
I love this question, because I think I really believe in the power of allyships. You cannot achieve this alone. You heard my husband speak. He enables me to grow. But I think as women with other women, we can really empower each other. And I've had strong support of female leaders in my life. It happens in our company a lot. We have the Women in Heineken network, where really women support other women. But your question is for the country here. And I think we are all together in this room, and we can make this ambition now reality, to support each other and to say, let's stand up for equal rights on some of the legislation. Let's empower women via digitization, because it brings more access to business opportunities for women. It brings safer shopping experiences. It brings education if you are at home, but all of a sudden you have the world at your feet with the internet. You can educate people. And a knowledgeable woman, yeah, you say, is a knowledgeable family. And that strives further. So if you want, I will be your ally. And let's raise our hand. It's my word of tonight. Raise your hand. Who would be in?
Yes. Can you see a show of hands, please? I want you to get active.
Come on, ladies.
A lot of chatter around. Sure. Not enough. Is that all?
Who would support other women? Yes. I think we have an allyship.
I'd like to complete what Maud said. Thank you very much. I think it's our responsibility. We are women in a leadership position, and we are in a position to make things changing, working together also with our all employees, male and women together. And just to give you an example, for the International Women's Day, we organized a small event in the company, and the people we asked to bring a testimony were the men. So we want the men also be an active part of this transformation, bring the equality, bring the equity, bring the opportunity to study STEAM, ICT, whatever. So they play the game, few are here. So I was really proud of this.
I think there was a question.
Yes. Basically, I think Maud answered to an extent, but in the light of the International Women's Day theme of digital, I just want to ask how the technology has enabled you to grow personally and professionally to achieve your goals and the dream. So it's open question to any panel member.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of 2020, I made a video on Instagram about the Muslim Marriage and Divorce Act, and I was talking about how women can't sign their contract and women can't be qazis in family law courts. And for some reason, the video just went and hit a lot of Muslim young women target audiences. And then we were able to meet in Colombo and discuss this issue, and then meet again in Kandy and discuss this issue. But then the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, we couldn't meet in person. And then we also had threats of, more conservative elements, mosque committees meeting and deciding against things. So then we had to organize online. So for that whole year, despite everything that was happening with the pandemic, with a lot of the cases that were coming in regarding domestic violence and issues accessing the Qazi courts, and even during that time with what was happening, what the state forced policy on cremations, which was affecting the Muslim community a lot, it was possible to organize ourselves for a long time and go through that year, which is one reason why even Amnesty International was able to list us for the work that we've been doing. So if it wasn't for the online platforms, it would not have been possible, because we noticed that women were active online, whether it was from named accounts or even through anonymous accounts. They were active and we were able to reach them.
Thank you. That's excellent.
Excellent. Any more inputs? No. Okay. I'll take one or maybe two. If you're willing to take the challenge, one question, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question for Maud. Maud, you have been in a multinational company for over 2 decades, and it probably must have not been easy to get to where you are. But I would like to understand, and as an inspiration to all of us here, what are some of the challenges that you came across and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, of course I had challenges. Some were cultural, actually, because I'm Dutch. And the Dutch are known for being very straightforward. So for me, it's easy to say what I think because that is stimulated in the culture. And I have worked in 8 different countries in the world for Heineken, and in increasingly senior roles. To win people's confidence and to make people follow you as a leader requires trust. And how you have to build that trust is different in every culture. And I had to learn that. And for that I had to listen and trust my team, the people that advised me. So guys, how does it work in Sri Lanka to win trust from people? It is different than winning trust from people in Singapore or in New Zealand. And by listening, being open to people's input and allowing them to coach you, then you can be a better leader. So trusting also that other people want you to succeed have helped me
win that trust faster and accelerate across all these countries in the world of Heineken.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Asked who? Okay. You want to ask? Oh, okay, right. Can you ask question from another gentleman in the audience?
So, Heineken is a great brand, but I love Lion. And Jeremy David is a dear friend. And I've been asking him for a fridge in my bar, branded Lion. And he's been saying, yes, I'll do it. He has not. How soon can you send a Heineken brand fridge? Thank you.
If you say that you are a believer in quality, are you?
I am a pure believer of quality. I've always drunk Lion, and I'm a Lion ambassador.
Then my view is you should have a fridge with only pure malt beer in your...
Okay.
I have single malt.
Okay.
Single malt.
Thank you.
Yeah, but...
Thank you. I was
Give
looking
me your
forward for a
phone
very,
number.
Yeah, I was looking forward to a very tough question from him. It wasn't so. In the interest of anyone? No. Ladies, yes, please. Mic on the... Oh, okay, we have 2 questions. Can I take those 2 questions? Can I have a show of hands? Last 2 questions? Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Oh, okay.
My question is for Nabila. So, I grew up in a Muslim community as well. To be myself and to want to do the things that I wanted to do, I had to basically excommunicate myself from the community. How does that, what is your opinion on that? And how do we bring the Muslim community to understand that women too have equal rights, just as men do?
Excellent. We'll take this next question as well. I think I saw, was it only one? Okay. Nabila, maybe.
So first of all, I mean, the story that you shared is shared by many, and for that it's genuinely disappointing to hear that, because religion is something that's very personal, your identity is something very personal, and your choices are something very personal. So when those are hurt, it hurts very deep, and I can empathize with you on that. The problem with minority communities in any country is there are lots of layers that you need to think about. There's the work, how the state works, how civil societies work, how communities work. So it's a uniquely positioned community, in my opinion. It's very difficult. So even in something like family law reforms, when we work, some women want to abolish polygamy, some women don't want to abolish polygamy. Some women want strict conditions on polygamy. It's incredibly difficult to come to one ground. So my answer to you is, first, I think we just need to create safe spaces for each other. As women from minority or whatever label identity we come from, that's a safe space that we need to create for each other. Because sometimes waiting on bigger groups to create that for us is just not going to come.
Thank you. Excellent.
Hi, Nista. Can I ask a question?
I can't see you. Okay, right, please.
Hi. So my question is to the ladies in the digital platform. First, it is to the lady who actually has evolved or basically done the Mint Pay payment system. How challenging was it for you as a lady to introduce and break through the barrier of introducing a digital currency? And to the ladies from the banking sector, how well have you all been able to adapt this and roll it out in facilitating to the ladies and to the larger audience? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
So just to clarify, MinPay is not a digital currency. It's a buy now, pay later platform. So just want to clarify that. So launching MintPay, so as a bootstrap startup, it was quite a challenge. But the thing was, at that time, like, that there were a lot of, like, this was during the pandemic time, and there were a lot of, like, this competition that was taking place. So one piece of advice, if I'm to give to any woman, is that when you are the only woman speaker in an arena amongst, like, so many men, like, there's going to be a lot more attention on you than any other guys. So I think that's a piece of advice I would like to give to everyone, because that kind of paved way for a lot of introduction, a lot of networks, and a lot more opportunities. So that was one of the easiest way for me to, like, launch MintPay. And, like, to be honest, I never thought, because I was a female founder, it was going to be difficult for me to launch and introduce this concept to, to Sri Lanka, right? I thought, you know what, I'm going to find, like, the easiest way to do it. And, like, being a female, like, I was like, okay, the spotlight will be on me, because there's a gender difference. Everyone else is of the same gender, and you're a female, right? So yeah, so that kind of paved way, and there was a lot more competitions for, like, that were women-focused one, which really helped me to, like, bring MintPay to, like, the mass market.
Thank you. Sashi, you'd like to respond? Yeah.
Regarding these fintechs, their objective is also to provide innovative solutions to the public, whether it's male or female. So the bank's attitude is we embrace, we collaborate those fintechs. We never see them as threats to the services that the banks provide. In fact, they go to the grassroots level. The banks cannot have so many systems in place. In fact, they have a main core system. So these are the add-ons that they provide. And whatever the fintechs, it is finally the banks have to come in, because that's where the payments get routed. So to your question, whatever the fintechs do, it's welcomed by the banks, because at the end of the day, both our objectives are to serve the customers. That's the public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to wrap this up in terms of one question to all the panelists. Quick answers. I know we have spoken a lot now that Sashi is there. I know there are a lot of challenges faced by women entrepreneurs. We have several in the audience. What is the single biggest challenge for women entrepreneurs, in your opinion?
I know the answer that you want is the access to finance. But Nista, that is not the only challenge that the entrepreneurs face. It's much more. Even access to market is one of the key things. But access to finance is, I believe, a perception, because at ground level, there are many programs available, and there are lots of funds available to entrepreneurs, SMEs, and startups. The problem is that the financial literacy, because no financial institution will just throw money. That they need to see that there is a feasible proposal coming. It is the financial literacy, the lack of literacy is what holds them to come to a bank and convince the bank and negotiate and able to access those funds.
Thank you. Dinar, I'll start from you perhaps. As a young actor, what would you like to see society and the country overall to improve the status of women?
I'd say the first thing would be equal pay.
Everybody heard this, right? Equal pay from tomorrow.
Okay. I think female artists need to be, I'm not saying it's not happening. In mainstream cinema, females and male get paid the same amount, but it doesn't happen all the time. And I think what would be nice is for the filmmakers and directors and producers to look at an artist for their skills, for their experience, for their talents, and not because they're male or female. And I think that would be the main thing. But I also think another one would be I would like to see more people and more females get into the production aspect of the cinema industry, because I think it requires a lot of late nights, and I think it's not fair in a culture where we come from. The stereotypical way would be for a woman to stay at home and look after the family. But by creating safe spaces and maybe just basic things like a lactation room for nursing mothers, I think that would go a long way in production companies. So I think little ways like that would be the
Thank
way
you.
forward.
Urmila, your last question is, what can Sri Lanka do to retain good talent? I know there's an exodus right now. There are going to be exodus in the future as well. So you're dependent on talent. So what should be done?
So the brain drain, I mean, it's more emphasized after this economic crisis. It's actually, if you think about it, it's happening at like right after school level itself, right? Because when I look at my close friends, like my immediate set of friends, like I don't have anyone in Sri Lanka after school. Everyone left and we studied abroad, and then I was the only one who returned back, right? So it happens at that stage because the number of universities are limited here. Therefore, the number of the graduates that you produce is limited. So you are seeking education abroad. So if there's another way where we can welcome like the foreign universities to put up a branch or their subsidiaries in Sri Lanka, that would really help retaining the talents from going abroad. So when you produce more graduates, then there's a lot of like after graduation, like your talent pool is there, right? And thereafter, it's easier for us to like even for foreign countries, like similar to what Singapore or India did, for instance, right? The Fortune 500 companies or the global companies, the family offices, they would want to set up a branch here, and this would encourage more and more talent to remain in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, looking at like playbooks of India or Singapore is a very good way for us to start.
Excellent. Final question to Mayesha is actually, do you see there is an enabling environment in corporates or in Sri Lanka for young women to succeed?
Yeah, so if I give first overall answer, yes. Because if you look at the overall system, the education system, there's free education that supports men and women, girls and boys equally, primary, secondary, and university. And if we see the statistics, girls and boys, numbers entering school pretty much the same. And actually, at competitive exams such as O-level, A-level, girls, in fact, are doing better than boys as per the statistics available. And university entrance, again, you see higher number of women entering local universities as opposed to boys. But we do see this number is not reflecting in the participation of the labor force. So where women participation is only about 34%, and as it goes higher to like boardroom level, boardroom representation is only about 10%. So this I see is where we have the issue. So I would think one key reason here is that women, when they do play diverse roles, they do play the role of from a daughter to a wife to a mother, as they transition into various roles, they do have this tendency of stepping down or slowing down, where they give priority to their families. Especially as a woman becomes a mother, it becomes very important to give that care to a baby, to a young child. And we do see this as a critical point where women tend to slow down a bit. And I think it's a point where the employers need to understand and support with various things. I mean, now we do see them happening in Sri Lanka, flexi hours to working from home to extended maternity leave, and as well as some organizations even have daycare centers within the organization to support the women to keep their children safely. So if these things take place, that will help women to be retained in the labor force. If they do retain at this critical point, if they don't change their mind, and if they do remain, and I know that they can and they will reach the pinnacle.
Okay, thank you very much. Nabila, last question for you is, I know you do a lot of activities, and you have a lot of, but one single thing that you would like to see from a society or from a country to improve the conditions of the people that you are working with.
So when Jeff Bezos and Mackenzie Scott got a divorce, right? Mackenzie Scott made a lot of donations to one, the Girl Scouts USA, and one called the Frida Fund, which is a large feminist funding organization, which I'm an advisor to as well. And that, why I think that is so great is because they thought of directly funding young women who are leaders in creating solutions to the problems that they are facing. So you're putting young women who are facing the issues at the front lines of the humanitarian space. So for me, that's what I would like to see, where young women who are facing the issues are also in the front lines creating solutions and consulting as well.
Excellent, thank you very much. Maud, the last opportunities for you as a business leader, what would you like Sri Lanka and as a country and maybe companies to do, empower more women so that they will be very influential at a society, at a corporate, at a national level?
I think the theme of this year says it all. Because digitization gives access, it creates business opportunities. And if you understand the opportunity, and we all know that if women participate, the business results are better, we need to make sure that we educate people. And digitization also gives access to data and insight, whether it is fair, equal pay, whether it is sharing knowledge across borders. How amazing it is if women in Sri Lanka can learn via digitization from women in other countries who have been successful. So it empowers you also. You can learn faster. So I think embrace digital is the way forward. And who knows what else is to come with AI.